Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. It's Raul Alejandro Mendoza, or as always, you guys can call me the Nerd Chicano. Doesn't matter. It's all the same here. And today we're back for another video of Between the Frames. And we are going to keep on continuing through our journey through the Essential Fellini box set from the Criterion collection, or this huge thing right here. One more after this one and we're done. Today we're talking about his 1980, his first film from the 80s. It's And the Ship Sails On, and yeah, this is disc number 12 of the 14 set here. I'm not good, of course, you guys already know I'm not talking about the last disc. That is the 3-hour documentary from Marcello Mastroianni. But yes, this is the continuation of our set. And we are doing, this week we're doing And the Ship Sails On, then next week we do Intervista, and last week we talked about Amarcord, which was the last film that he won the Best Foreign Language Film Oscar for. And the Ship Sails On, man. Yeah, I guess that just explains it kind of the way that we're doing it with this. We are one more away from completing the set, and we're going to be going ahead and we're going to be moving on to our next set here on Between the Frames that I'm going to be talking to you all about next week. But I'm excited because I had never watched this film before. I had never watched And the Ship Sails On. I had never seen Intervista either. That was one that I had never gone to. But I was really excited to get to it because of just this being a political satire of a film, and also being one of Fellini's later works that, you know, this is right after that, you know, Nino Rota dies. You know, he's not working with him anymore because he's dead. And then, you know, this is kind of like really late Fellini that is just coming at the cusp at the end of his career. And of course, you know, he passed in the 90s, and you know, there's a lot going into it. But of course, let's go ahead and get into the film. And the Ship Sails On from 1983. So let's go ahead and of course read from the Criterion website. Let's see what Criterion's nice little entry on how they describe this film, because of course they do it better than a lot of people on Wikipedia. In this late career highlight from Federico Fellini, the ringmaster auteur trades his customary spectacles, the cinema, the circus, and the variety show, stage, for that of the opera, in a quirky, imaginative fable set on the high seas. A motley crew of European aristocrats and a love-stick rhinoceros board a luxurious ocean liner on the eve of World War I, to scatter the ashes of a beloved diva, only to sail into the headwinds of history when they cross paths with a group of Serbian refugees and an Austro-Hungarian warship, fabricated entirely in Rome's famed Cinecittà studios with the help of production designer Dante Ferretti. And the Ship Sails On reaches spectacular new visual heights in its stylized recreation of a decadent bygone era. Of course, directed by Federico Fellini, written by Federico Fellini and Tonino Guerra, and the lyrics are done by Andrea Zanzotto, and of course Catherine Breillat did the writing for the French version of the film. Catherine Breillat, known for her film like Fat Girl and Romance, and a lot of those other great movies done by Catherine Breillat. Franco Cristaldi produces the film with an uncredited producing role by Renzo Rossellini and Daniel Toscan di Plantier. It stars Freddie Jones, Barbara Jefford, Victor Poletti, Peter Collier, Elisa Mainardi, Norma West, Paolo Paoloni, Sarah Jane Varley, Fiorenzo Serra, Pina Bausch, and Pasquale Zito. Cinematography is done by Giuseppe Turno, edited by Ruggero Mastroianni, as always, you know, same that we usually, saw in the last couple of films. Music done by Gianfranco Planizio, and the choreography is done by Leonetta Bentivoglio. I'm terrible at pronouncing these names. But of course, that is the team behind And the Ship Sails On. And of course, what did I think about And the Ship Sails On? I like it. I like this movie a lot. It's grown on me as probably one of my favorite films from Federico Fellini. It's obviously not on the stature of like Nights of Cabiria, La Dolce Vita, 8.5, Amarcord, any of those. But this is a really special film within Federico's filmography. Of course, it's very, you know, Fellini-esque in the sense of what it's kind of juggling. You know, there's a freaking rhinoceros in the ship. There's a freaking rhinoceros. I mean, what else do you do there? That's as Fellini-esque as it can get. It's fantastical, it's whimsical, but it's also filled with a lot of its quims of political satire and a lot of commentary about European society, especially pre-World War I. And in a sense, I think that Fellini's kind of talking about specifically the kind of individualistic the kind of individualistic view of life that Europe was kind of gravitating towards, that I think would end up allowing something like fascism to grow. And then we see kind of where Federico grew up during fascist Italy. And yeah, I thought the music was fantastic. I thought the set pieces were fantastic as well. The costumes were great. They did a really good job at you know, framing this as well, and making sure that they kept true to that Fellini-esque nature of like making sure everything's kind of in frame, and you have all these like wonderful set pieces that are so crazy and whimsical. It's like, you know, it's well orchestrated by the maestro himself. Of course, nothing really kind of beats Nino Rota's scores. It's really hard for you to beat the master himself, but when the music is great, it's great. And it's sad that it's not the iconic scores of who was working with Federico at the time before. But of course, the incredible Nino Rota did die, and he wasn't able to work anymore with Federico. But the music is still fantastic. The costumes are great. I like this one. This one definitely isn't, you know, what's it called, some grand masterpiece like a lot of his other movies, but it's still one that kind of sits out there, and it really, speaks for itself, really. And that's why I like it so much, because there's so much going on, there's so much being said, especially about European society, but it's still at the core a Fellini film. Now, let's talk about the restoration. Wow, this restoration is beautiful. I never saw this movie before, so I never got to see how this movie looked before they did the restoration. But they really cleaned up this movie. I mean, this looks like a completely different movie when you look at the stills from the old restoration of And the Ship Sails On. And I really think that this is probably one of the top restorations on this set, especially because you can tell how much detailing and work was put into this to clean up the negatives. And I'm gonna, you know, detail a lot of that, especially in the next one, which is our last entry in this set. But the video quality, the picture is beautifully restored, and I think that they did a lot of great work on there. But also the audio is done fantastically. I think that the audio is super clean, it's nice and crisp, and they're able to mix the music well into there, and to make sure that it's restored as well. And they did a great job at being able to handle that. But other than that, this is definitely, you can tell that the color, well, of course you can see a bit more of the work that was done on the color films compared to the black and white, because you're going to be able to see a big difference. But these films like Julia the Spirits, Amarcord, and Ship Sails On, you can really pinpoint where they really, you know, upped that quality to give you that 4K restoration, but they also kept to the, you know, the original color grading of the film. So they didn't really change too much, but they were still able to give you something that felt like it was from Federico Fellini's filmography. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I believe I gave this movie a 4.5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. I don't remember too well. I moved to a new place, as you can tell, so I don't really know my scores at the moment. but I believe I gave this movie a 4 out of 5. It's a great movie. I want to go ahead and rewatch it before I call it a masterpiece or anything like that, but I think that it is a really, really good entry inside of Federico Fellini's filmography. And of course, I haven't watched the supplements and stuff like that, guys. Those are things I'm going to get to later. Right now, we're simply, talking about the films in the set. So I really enjoyed this film, and I hope that you all enjoyed the video. And as always, make sure you keep up to date with everything that I do within the channel and within outside of the channel by going over to following me on Instagram and Twitter at The Nerdy Chicano, and on Letterboxd at The Nerdy Chicano as well. And make sure that you check out all the things I do with the Nerdcore by going to thenerdcore.com. And if you like the video, make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel, you turn the notification bell on so you don't miss a single video that comes out of the channel. And of course, I do have another one that I'm going to be doing. We're going to be talking about Intervista on the next one, and then I'm going to tell you all which is the next set that we're going to be covering on Between the Frames. But until then, it's been a lot of fun. And as always, I don't have a outro. I just simply tell you, wonderful cinephiles and scholars, to relish in the love of cinema. Catch you on the next one.